Hello and welcome to Cheapskate. I'm Cameron and this is episode 4 of our Skeggs body shape prototype build where we are testing the building of a guitar. Now this is a two-way truss rod and I'm just showing here that when working out the placement we have to make sure that the adjusting nut, the end that takes an Allen key, is far enough back that it doesn't stick out through a headstock. So generally speaking we put a truss rod cover over it, and so it needs to be back far enough so that it's not poking up at all. But we also want the truss rod, the flat rod part, to touch the fretboard before it reaches the first fret, if possible. That looks pretty good there, so I'm just putting a mark in. And I'm just going to rule the line across. So basically a two-way truss rod means that it adjusts in both directions. So you can force relief into the neck and you can force backbow into the neck. A single truss away, a one-way truss rod, as far as I'm aware, you can force backbow into the neck but you can't force relief. I think you're just relying on the strings to pull relief in the neck. I think that's right. Maybe I got the wrong way around. Anyway, the only reason I can see that you would use anything other than a two-way truss rod is if you are trying to build an historically accurate guitar from the time before we had two-way truss rods, or if you are trying to save a bit of weight maybe. So the truss rod itself, I just measured there, the thickest part was 6mm, but the adjusting nut on the end is 7mm, so I'll need to cut a channel that is 6mm wide and then just chisel out the last little bit. I'm showing there I'm doing 3mm, which is of course half of 6mm. Ha! I know I'm talented. And I'm just marking the actual width from my center line. I'm going 3mm either side of my center line. My center line is actually the glue joint between the two pieces. It's exactly in the middle as it turns out, which is good. But I'm actually making a terrible mistake right now. So really all you need is the center line, and then you just route down the center with the 6mm bit and you've got a 6mm channel. But I decided to draw it in to make it the same shape as a truss rod, so it's exactly 6mm wide and all that, which probably seems reasonable. But because I'm terrible at following directions and instructions and plans, I muck it up. And as you will see in a minute, I really should have just had a center line and then lined up the middle of my router bit with the center line, and that's it. Anyway, here we are, me fitting it in now. I've drawn on the 6mm channel on the top of the neck there. So in case you don't know, what the truss rod does is when you tighten it up, it pushes up on the fretboard and helps to basically bend the neck, straighten the neck, or put a bit of relief in it if you want to. So there's the channel. You can see my actual glue joint is right in the middle of that. I have a router bit here. It is actually 6.35mm. I can't get an actual 6mm bit, but 6.35 actually works out to be perfect. It's a very snug fit with that. I've done a couple of router channels with it now. So there it is drawn on, and I have continued the line to the other side so that when this is face down the router table as it is now, I can see where I need to stop. So that was our first pass at about half depth, but you will see it's in the wrong spot. So what I did was I lined up the edge of my router with the edge of the line I had drawn. Well, actually no, I lined up the edge of my router bit with the center line, I think, actually. And so you can see there, yeah, the edge of the channel runs right along the center line, and then it goes 6 mils to the side. So I stuffed it, basically. Put it in the wrong spot. It's not in the middle. Now I'm doing the full depth. And now we're at full depth. So whenever I make mistakes like that during this build, I just tell myself, this is a test build. This is why I'm doing a test build. If I had done that on the actual build, I would have probably wanted to smash my head against the router table. But because it's a test build, I just say, okay, lesson learned. When I do the actual build, I won't do that. And I am doing the actual build now. I'm quite a bit of the way through it, and I can tell you that I didn't do it. I did it right on the actual build. So you can see there, it's actually also a little bit deep, which is another lesson I learned, was to be more conservative. And on with my original calculations now, I'm trying to actually make it slightly too shallow, and then if I have to go deeper, I think is a safer way of doing it, rather than trying to get the actual depth straight away. And now we're just widening the end for the, I'm calling it the adjustment nut, but I guess you call it a nut, but it's using an Allen key to adjust it. Or hex key, I think they call them in the USA. So just taking a small slice off. So I'm not great with chisels, as you know. I'm a bit of a beginner with woodwork, but one thing I have learned through watching YouTube videos and through trial and error is to take very small pieces off. Don't try and take off big bits, just shave stuff. Seems to be the way to go with chisels. And if you just take small shavings, there's less chance for error and breakage. So this particular chisel you see me using now is actually a 6mm wide chisel, so it's great for this because it's the same width as the channel. So if you want to do a bit of work, it's really handy. It's a little bit tight there. I've only actually loosened one side. I just wanted to test to see if I was on the right track. Something else I've been learning, something I was never good at as a young person, was checking progress. I used to just go everything hell for leather, try and get stuff done as quickly as possible, and just not check until I finished and then find out I'd done it wrong. So if you find out halfway through that you're doing it wrong, you can sometimes save it. So it's always better to check progress as you go. I quite enjoy using chisels actually. I'm probably not very good with them, but I do enjoy it. So we go now, it pops straight in. It is a tight fit from side to side on the actual truss rod, so that 6.3mm bit actually works out really well. It is a little low, but it actually works out okay, because once you actually adjust the truss rod, part of that truss rod will come up and touch the fretboard anyway, and that'll stop it from vibrating. This is a good shot of my feet. I don't know why that's in there. I think I'm trying to show you there we are, show you a top-down view of the truss rod in. So later on in another episode we'll actually glue the fretboard on and show how all that goes, but that's all it is as far as putting a truss rod in. It's just basically cutting a channel down the middle. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to Cheapskate, and have fun.